And what we started to say was, you know what? There are times when there's a benefit to just thinking to yourself. So we try to make every statement here as positive as possible along a continuum. So if you said, for example, I'm a high level introvert and I don't just jump into anything, so that's okay. You can benefit from taking some time to sit with yourself and consider the meaning before you jump in. So it says, I'm not going to have a negative presupposition. I'm going to assume people are in or would like to be in, but they're really paying attention to how they engage. The next one is observes, which is sometimes I just like to see what other people are doing. Some people call this lurking. But what it is basically, I need to be listening to how people are thinking so it can inform my thinking. And so I'm getting kind of ready perhaps to jump in. And then participates is now I'm ready perhaps to dialogue, to join, to be an active speaker or more active with my listening, because now I'm feeling safer. You know, this is a way of defining what we call that psychologically safe space. It's okay not to say something right away. And it's also okay to say something that may not be the most profound thing in the world, but what you want to do is you want to just hear your voice. You want to feel it's okay to participate, especially if there's no right or wrong answer and you're discussing a dilemma. We can have much more inclusive way of joining the discourse. And finally, when we're investing, it's not because we're right, it's not because our opinion is established, it's because we're good at sense making and summarizing and helping ourselves move the discourse along. So you notice that this is a way to begin to use this as an assessment tool, but not an assessment tool a teacher does. It's a self-assessment tool. So you will see that we ask reflective questions in each of these categories so that students can pay attention to where am I in engagement with discourse and where might I like to grow? How might I like to grow? For example, I would say some people who invest heavily in the beginning and perhaps they're sharing their opinions right away, might say, you know what? Maybe I should step back a little bit and think a little bit more before I just engage. Maybe I need to get a little more reflective as well. So it's an interesting self-assessment tool. Here's one from pre-calculus in Madison, Connecticut. And what he did was he said, what content do you feel that you need more growth in? Now that's really interesting because up to this point, he was very skeptical. What do you mean self-assessment and pre-calculus? What do you really think that the kids are going to talk about? How they solve problems? Do you really? I'm just not sure it fits in pre-calculus. And with a little encouragement, he came up with a couple of questions. And I just took this one because I thought it was really, it showed so well what's possible. Because if you notice, he said, the student says, I need to keep practice on testing for symmetry because the one I did not really understand it until right before the test. And he goes on to say he got it wrong, and here's why he got it wrong. But we highlighted what was most important here. However, if I really understood it, I would have realized that X and Y are opposite sides of Y-axis, therefore a reflection over Y, deeming it to have symmetry with respect to the Y-axis symmetry. And the teacher, David Buller, says, that's a great conceptual learning. Surely, sorry you didn't have that for the test, but thrilled you have it now. So isn't that lovely that you can have a commentary and an engagement with a student, encouraging and fostering the power of that self-assessment and reflection. I'm going to move now to just thinking a little bit about the idea of how we make this play with making choices. So for example, when you're making a choice as a student, how does that begin to reflect on your ability to make wise choices because you're beginning to think about the challenge and you're thinking about what about this choice will help me to be more prepared, more planful, more metacognitive about self-managing. So here's one, here's a sample teacher developed choice board, a choice board on vocabulary. So notice that she's done this. Now, what's interesting to me is, and this is based on Mike Anderson's book on learning to choose and choosing to learn. You notice that these are all fabulous choices. But if I don't know how to do a video, create a video clip that demonstrates my concept, if I don't know how to do that, what this teacher does is she gives me some options as to how I can learn how to do that. And each one of these is on the web so that you can learn. Now, notice the part about this is that too often we choose to do a video vocab because, whoo, that sounds like such a cool idea. But if we don't know how to do it, it can take more time to figure out how to do it than it can, and I may lose my investment in wanting to do it. So notice that this is really about giving choices, but also providing some of the strategies that you would need to make the choice real so that you don't get caught in a trap of having chosen something that's going to take far longer than you ever imagined. I know we've all been there before. Here's something from grades 2-3 in Council Rock. And what they do here is, you'll notice that they do research. They're very much interested in, you choose what topic you will do. We will give you the rubric for making your topic carefully researched the way we're looking for it. So again, the anchor is the rubric. You'll all be assessed in the same way. You'll all get feedback based on the same rubric. However, it's your choice, your choice. And this one, it was about studying insects that I saw, but there are many different choices. You can see how this would work. Again, personalizing, letting students find their own way, let them have their own choice, but ground it in a research rubric so that they know how to manage themselves and become more able to figure out, how do I do the ideas and content? How do I organize all of this? What word choices will I be thinking about? Again, making sure that we're providing students with the capacity to manage themselves, to monitor the progress, to modify it as they go along, and to really reflect upon what they're learning. This is another one where they've used the simpler form of this from another class where they added the habits of mind in. So in this one, they said, when you set a goal or choose a topic, and then they use the icon for that, which is you choose a topic, and then the icon is responding with wonderment and awe. So they're saying, when you did your insect research, you're choosing something. What did you just respond with wonderment and awe? Wow, I'm intrigued by this. I'm curious. I want to know more. Set a goal. And the habit of mind they chose was questioning and posing problems. What might you need to know? How would you begin to develop this? So this is the same insect research that they did. And this is the way that they guide them to begin to look at this. When you're coaching for thinking, think about the idea that what I've been saying, you're planning, you're monitoring, and you're reflecting. When planning for a project, you need to invite students to define their purpose, set and clarify it, envision and anticipate which habits of mind they'll be using. When you're looking to see them planning, these are the kinds of considerations. You want them to take their time. You want them to think about how much time, what the resources, what the audience will be, what alternatives do they need, what assessment, what criteria for excellence will they have. So this is where you're helping them to question and to help them develop a plan. And then while they're working on their projects, you're asking them, what's going well? You're monitoring. How are you knowing that you're success? What habits of mind are you employing? So keeping them aware, keeping them conscious of it. And then helping them anticipate which habit of mind will serve you best. Tell us more. Think about it. Look at the habits of mind. Which do you feel will serve you best? And then when the students have completed their projects, ask them to self-modify by reflecting. What have you learned from the way you've planned? How might you coach yourself the next time when you have to do a project? Well, I've given you a lot to think about. However, I'm also aware that you can slow it up, You can think about it. You can break this up and you can take small chunks of it because it's all recorded. And you can also always go to the resources and you will be able to find a lot of the material that you can study, that you can use as a way of improving and growing self-direction with your students in your classrooms and in your schools. So I leave you with this because I've always loved this. This is from Alan Kay, who worked with the Apple Computer Company. And what he said was, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And you have in your hands every day the future. And I know that you're helping them to be prepared to invent it. Thank you so much for being with me.